Beyond.
Yeah.
Okay.
Off to a bad start.
You liked the first.
No, just the worst.
Welcome everybody to Podcast Beyond, episode 449.
Rickety crickets.
Yep. Sniffy and the Skunks here with some real bad smells for your ears. I'm Max Scoville. Joining me once again is Andrew Goldfarb.
Hey.
Brian Altano.
What's up?
And Marty Sleva.
Greets.
Hey everybody. How's it going?
So you didn't do the brap rap.
Alana is still in.
Now I get it.
Alana's not here.
Alana's not here.
She's in Australia.
That's fair.
Someone from Douglas, Arizona is calling me. I don't even know what that is.
Answer it. Take it.
No,
Answer
I'm
it.
not answering that. I already missed it.
Man.
We've got a caller from Douglas, Arizona.
Hello, Douglas. What's his name? Douglas.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, 449. We just posted 448 and a half, which was our E3 episode.
Yep.
Max and I were a part of that. It's audio only, recorded in Zach's Airbnb. It's very long. I scrubbed through a little bit of it, listened to like the last half hour, and I was like, I don't remember any of this.
Yeah,
so that's how that one went.
I think I just like I went to walk Kirsten home, and then you guys stopped recording. I went back to Zach's Airbnb, and I was like, "Hey, can you let me up?" And he's like, "Everyone's gone, dude. Go home." And I was like, "Oh,
but it's
okay,
good.
fine."
So pretty par for the course for an E3 episode.
For an E3 episode, yeah.
Greg Miller was on it.
Yeah, Greg's on a lot of it. Yeah.
So if somehow you're listening to this episode and you haven't listened to the last episode, you can do that.
Yeah.
That's how that
And
works.
technically, it took place before 448.
Yeah.
It's technically it's like a secret show, like
Just
the
look up,
13th floor, right?
Look
Yeah.
up Podcast Beyond Secret Wars 2 reading order, and you should find you got to pick up New Mutants number 37, and find out what that Beyonder's up to. Hey, I actually made it. That totally
good.
works. Yeah, the Beyonder in Secret Wars. Hell yeah! All right. Anyway, we got a great announcement that the Return to Arkham Batman games are delayed with no date.
Yeah.
So
That's not a great announcement.
And so to put that in
these games
perspective,
have gone missing.
today we're recording this on 28th. When we're listening to this, it's June 29th. So they're about to come out 1 month later, July 29th. They're now delayed with no date, like indefinitely delayed. And the deal was with those, if you didn't know, it was Batman Return to Arkham. It was Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, plus all their DLC, all the Game of the Year content. Remastered for Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah.
So it wasn't just like up-resing it. They were
the games were
switching
originally
engines.
in UE3.
And even Arkham Knight was in UE3.
Oh, so these are
yeah.
running on a brand new engine?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
so that's one of the
wow,
reasons
there it
people
is.
think it might be delayed is that it's much more difficult to do that than you would imagine. I mean, because the game was optimized for a very specific engine with a very specific set of rules and logic, and bringing that over to something completely different seems monumentally difficult.
Yes, especially because it wasn't exactly the smoothest launch last time around.
Yeah. What happens when an unstoppable force meets an Unreal Engine?
I mean, so give them a little bit of context about the PC launch.
Yeah, Arkham Knight. When Arkham Knight launched on PC, it was a disaster. They issued refunds, it got delayed, and then finally came back out. But there was a whole mess at launch of just performance problems and all kinds of stuff like that.
The collector's edition Batmobile worked perfectly, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah,
What happened there, Goldie?
Oh, it literally didn't exist. Yeah.
It never came out.
That was not part of the collector's edition. Yeah.
Why?
I don't know why.
Because it was falling apart.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
And
It's an actual thing that happened. So
it's obviously performance problems happen at launch, but this has been a franchise. It's kind of like, at least since City, had a couple launch problems every time, and even the standard edition of Arkham Knight, and even on Xbox One and PS4, like I played the Xbox version, and anytime I lost internet connection, it would remove me from the game at launch, even though it wasn't an online game.
yeah, I had a lot of moments where I was sort of like falling through the architecture, or like you'd be in an indoor fight and you'd get punched, and then all of a sudden you'd be like in the sea.
Yeah.
So it's very weird. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool, Batman. But
Oh, that's because you were fighting Seaman.
yes, the hit Dreamcast character.
It was just Clayface, but he turned into the sea.
Yep. I was kind of okay with like giving them a pass on some stuff like that, because I know what they're trying to do is incredibly ambitious. Like to have an open world game like the Arkham games, where you can pretty much traverse anything, climb anywhere,
Especially City.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. So I was like, yeah, it's totally okay if I fall through something every now and then. But yeah, these have been secretly or not so secretly kind of problem ridden for a little while now.
And that's the big question with this delay, right? Do you think, so there are kind of two, just from like browsing NeoGAF and stuff all day, there are kind of two theories this splinters off into. First one is it because of those performance problems?
Right.
Like, do you think that could be why they would delay this? Because like for my money, right, like they were a month out from release, and it feels like they would be going gold theoretically if they were actually coming out in a month.
very soon.
So
Yeah.
you would know, like it's not like performance problems. It's like one day you updated the build and all of a sudden it doesn't run well. Like you feel like they would have had a longer ramp up.
No,
if
it's
that
like
was
if you look
why.
at No Man's Sky got delayed like a month and a half outside of its release date, and they
Yeah.
were like, we need a little more time, and it was like totally do what you got to do. This is just straight up like. You're not going to see this for a while. We can't even tell you when. We can't even give you a fake day that we're like. They didn't even say we're delaying it to the fall or 2017. They just said like no date.
Yeah, I mean,
Like an anime fan on prom night.
Wait, you didn't say any of those words right.
Is that what that was?
You
That
said
sounds-
anime fam. On,
think said fam.
You said anime fam on prom night. I mean, one of the things, if this was performance related, it makes sense because this is a series that has such incredible highs, but it also has taken just a bunch of shots to the jaw. Like
Yeah.
Arkham Origins, which yes, we all say like the game's not bad, but it's not up to that high pedigree. And yes, that was WB Montreal and not Rocksteady, but 99% of the people don't know that. It's a Batman
this
Arkham
isn't-
game, so it really doesn't matter to anyone.
and
It's
that's-
also worth pointing
yeah.
out this isn't Rocksteady either.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
Rocksteady's not handling the port.
Yeah.
No, but they're also not including that in this. They weren't including
Yes.
that in this hypothetical package,
Yeah.
which means this isn't even that like. It's like if you bought the Aliens box set and like, oh, Alien 3 isn't in there,
Yeah.
and they're like, well, a lot of people don't like Alien 3, and you're like, well, let me decide that.
Yeah, totally.
You know, like,
Yeah.
as in terms of being a completionist package and having everything right there, like to omit one of those games, because a different developer worked on it. Whereas, like you pointed out, most people didn't even notice. Most people don't care that was made by a
No,
different studio.
exactly. That's inside baseball. And then yeah, like we mentioned with Arkham Knight coming out and being such a catastrophe on PC that it literally got pulled from Steam. Like that's something like the Arkham brand as a whole is very powerful and it's very successful, and it's something that whether it's Rocksteady or not, WB is going to continue. And obviously Rocksteady is continuing it with Arkham VR.
Yeah.
But it's something like you don't want to tarnish that. Like you want to keep up its high reputation. That's one of the reasons GTA does so well, is because they take their time and everything that has GTA on it is spectacular.
Like an anime fan on prom night. No,
Like
I mean,
an anime
like,
fan
I like
on
how
a
we
prom
have one
night.
job, which is to come in here and talk into the microphone, so we managed to screw that up.
you mentioned Arkham VR.
Yeah.
VR
That's,
Arkham?
Yeah.
that's the other I mentioned kind
Can we
of
call it that? Seriously, can we call
VR
it
Arkham's a
VR
really
Arkham?
good name for it, actually.
Thank you.
Or
I invented it
Arkham.
myself.
Yeah, the other idea, kind of the other side of that argument is that has nothing to do with performance. The game actually is done. It was going to be out in a month, but they want to package Arkham VR with it. It's going to be part of a thing where this is the delivery way, that the delivery method for Arkham VR.
Yeah, that'd be interesting on the PS4 version of the game, because this was slated for both PS4 and
Yes, and Xbox One. And that's the weird thing is like, well, part of me is like, oh, that's a really smart way to get people to buy the collection. And it also is how you sell a 3-hour experience, is by putting it in something like this. But if it is done, and if that is why they're holding it, and that seems kind of crappy to just sit on it for 6 more months.
Well, and that also
Sit on
that
it, Potsy,
that also kind of sucks.
on your bike.
That sucks because it's like I don't really want this collection. Like I played these games and I'm glad they exist, but like I'm not really interested in that. I'm definitely interested in Arkham VR. Like the way you sell Arkham VR is you say this is the best Batman VR experience you'll ever have, and also you just bought a new launch system ostensibly.
Yeah.
And there are 7 things to do with it.
Yeah,
This is one of the best.
And I
ones.
imagine Arkham VR is going to be $20 or something.
Yeah,
like, I don't
that's
think
the
it's gonna be
other
a full
thing,
price
like-
game, and it's awesome. Like what I played at E3 was awesome. It was one of my 3 favorite things of the show.
To me, you'd get into like Modern Warfare Remastered territory where people would be like, I just want that thing. I don't want the other thing. I don't want the whole thing. I just
Yeah.
want that thing. When I get a PSVR this fall, I don't want 3 Arkham games that don't work with PSVR.
Well, I don't think there would be VR support, because I don't think in 6 months they're going to add VR support to the old ones. It would just be like...
Yeah.
It would be like a gateway
Movement would be
drug.
insane in that game. Like
Yeah.
you'd be throwing up inside of your.
Yeah,
like, they're
seriously.
not optimized for that at all. It'd be like you'd shoot up into the sky, and you'd throw up.
Also, that Killer Croc scene would be too scary.
Yep.
Oh, where
way
you're
too
running
scary.
towards the camera, yeah.
Yeah, I don't
It's a
want.
very scary bit.
Yeah, I don't know. And the other thing is
In
maybe
Asylum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like that man.
The other thing is maybe it's neither of these. Like maybe there's some other unknown reason why they did
That
it.
what it's just straight up canceled. Yeah, I mean,
Like some profit margin spreadsheet thing. They're like, oh, there's no one likes Batman anymore. It's too bad. It's bad.
Yeah, or like-
no one wants it. It's just like,
I would
cancel again.
imagine. I would imagine WB Montreal is doing something, or some team somewhere is doing something
In the
other
DC
than
universe.
just Arkham
We're gonna
VR.
put the dollar signs
like,
upside down. It's totally backwards, and nobody wants to buy it. We gotta cancel it right away.
Whose voice is that?
I don't know. It's
One of the Warner
WB
Bros.
executive,
Yeah, John Warner.
that's just it's 90% of the thugs in any Arkham game.
But yeah, I mean, if they're
let him know the bed's coming in.
I hear he's got a real big cape.
5 or 6 of us took a big old dump in the back of this truck. Oh crap! It's the bed.
Man, I saw an entire series of you imitating bad guy mobs.
it just follows that guy going
and
home
then
at the end of
Joker
the
being
day.
like, I didn't tell any of you to do that. Why would that be your crime?
Look, boss, we took a dunk in the van. Joker's like, that's weird. Like, I do weird
I asked
stuff.
you guys
but, like,
to rob the museum. Yeah, we took a bunch of dumps in the back of the car. Why?
Went down to the old warehouse and broke some windows. We took care of those windows for you, boss.
Hey, I know I'm crazy and I'm a clown and stuff, but like that is by no means a good use of your time.
Hey, Penguin, we caught a bunch of seagulls for your menagerie.
You're not getting paid for that. That's not a thing I can pay you for.
All right. So the PlayStation Vita, Sony's most famous dead system, is not really dead. There are games coming out for it. In fact, 3 of them came out today. Amazingly enough, we got Lego Star Wars: The Force Awakens.
Yay.
We got God Eater Resurrection.
Yay.
And we got Adventures of Mana, which was this wonderful little sort of like that was one of those things where like, oh, they're thinking about maybe local. Just kidding, it's out. It's out.
Yeah.
It's free in the wild. Go get it.
And the big thing about that is like God Eater sounds weird in that list because I know it's not like a major franchise, but it is like that's a Bandai Namco game, and you know Lego is obviously WB, and then Square put out that Final Fantasy game, and it's cool because like those are on one day 5 Vita games came out. 3 of them were from major publishers. The other 2 are like pretty popular smaller games.
Marty, you reviewed Force Awakens. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
Did you try the Vita version yet?
No, they haven't sent us any version
Okay.
other than the PS4 version.
Because I will say that I've played I've played almost all of the Lego games that have come to Vita in the last few years, as well as on 3DS. I'm a huge fan of playing those on handhelds because they are kind of grindy.
Oh yeah, definitely. Especially after you beat the campaign for the first time.
Yeah.
But Marvel, so Avengers is the first one that wasn't. Avengers is the first one where it was the one-to-one open world, kind of.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Like Avengers is interesting because like I only put a little bit of time into it. Actually, that's like next time I have a long flight, one of those games I want to dig deeper into. But yeah, like the world was there. It's just a little bit restricted. It's very empty. It's not populated in the way the Vita one is or the PS4 one is. Like flying around it is really cool, but it just gets old really fast.
So I feel like they could definitely make, again, like I haven't tried the Vita version, I want to this week. They could definitely make Force Awakens works because it's not one giant central hub like Manhattan. It's a bunch of smaller bite-sized hubs. So there's no like central, terrifyingly huge world. You can't just like be Boba Fett and fly into the air and go wherever you want.
Why
like,
not?
Because he passed away by that film.
He did not.
So
die.
is their hub
Dengar rescued him.
You can
They're
just
good
fly
friends.
inside the Sarlacc. It's just up and down.
Is there a hub that sort of like resistance hangar?
There's
terminal?
multiple hubs.
Oh, okay,
That's
cool.
a hub. Maz Kanata's planet after it gets
called
messed up.
Takadana.
I know it's called Takadana. I learned what all these planets are called because Jakku's the only one they name by name. Yeah. The Millennium Falcon is a hub. Starkiller Base is a hub. Jakku itself is a hub. Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Oh.
You're gonna make a great hub someday.
I guess we can cautiously recommend Force Awakens for Vita, like based on their.
I mean, I would wait. I would say see it because the Vita games are either like some of them are just 1-to-1 with the 3DS games, which is really weird because they're just like
they're up-res versions of the 3DS games. That's what Lego Jurassic World was.
And it's like the old school Lego games, like the original Lego Star Wars, where you kind of have that like main small hub area, and then you have kind of missions that are in single worlds, and you come back.
Yeah. Also, talking about Namco, man, I wish Namco would put Ni no Kuni on Vita, which
Oh, it would be so perfect.
It probably
Well, there was
can't-
there was a 3DS version.
Yeah.
That never came out stateside.
Yeah.
Which is really bizarre because
it's like
when
an
that
old school
came out,
grindy
it's-
RPG. Well, like the DS was huge back then.
Yeah.
Was
It's
it DS or 3DS?
It's
DS.
3DS.
Oh, it was originally DS.
It was DS.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so strange because you think that like I mean at that point like a PS3 exclusive versus a DS game like what's the install base there like what?
Yeah.
My ignorance for the way the sort of like marketing and production side of the industry is showing right now, but I feel like with digital distribution, it should be more logical than ever to sell stuff that you would probably beforehand thought like this isn't going to have a big impact on the market. We're not going to sell 100K versions of Ni no Kuni 3DS ported to Vita or whatever. But like it seems like now more than ever you can just put a JPEG up on the storefront on PSN and sell a game that would have been taking up a corner in a store somewhere.
Exactly.
Like if you go to a
There's
GameStop,
no physical manufacturing,
Yeah.
there's no
Yeah.
real estate.
Yeah, there's
in
no middleman
stores.
anymore.
It's just
Yeah.
it's just bandwidth.
It's
and
you.
like
Sony.
when the
Time.
PSP first came out, they talked about, I think it was Kaz Hirai talked about how the PSP was going to rescue gaming from the handheld gaming ghetto.
Yeah.
And I remember being like a little thrown off by that because I'm just like, well, what do you mean ghetto? Like
Yeah,
that's
like,
a stupid.
Nintendo, like the one thing they don't make mistakes on are handheld.
Yeah, and it's
Well,
also it's just
until
like it's like you wouldn't call PC gaming a ghetto. Like ghetto is just a stupid term to
Yeah,
throw to something
yeah.
like that. But if you go into like a GameStop now, like I was in the one on Market Street in San Francisco the other day, like the all of the 3DS stuff is down in the downstairs in a corner, like it's kind of in the ghetto, like
Yeah.
it's kind of in the dark. It's
Sounds
off
like
and
more
off
of
to
a
the side.
dungeon, really.
It's basically in the dungeon.
Yeah.
So like to go down there and be like, do they have this game? Like I wanted to pick up a game for 3DS and they didn't have it, and they only had it online. And it's like, well, then I could buy it through the eShop, but it's more expensive through there.
Yeah.
And like I feel like with games like this, especially on Vita, as it's dying, like take games like that and put it there. You know, put it on the store, sell it in a place where.
Well, we're getting there. Like, let's finish this list here because we've also got World of Final Fantasy coming in October. Dragon Quest Builders in October. I Am Setsuna is out in Vita.
So that one's weird because in Japan it's sort of the opposite of what you just said. You would think they would just bring it over because it's that game is being localized. It's out on Vita in Japan, but here it's only coming to PC and PS4. But that's one like the fact that they did decide to bring. Adventures of Mana over, the fact that World of Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest are coming over, I feel like there's kind of still hope for I Am Setsuna.
And maybe these are almost litmus tests. Like, how is this working? Like, if they do move a couple thousand units, which it doesn't need to move a ton. And like we know through evidence that like Vita owners, they're small in number, but the attach rate of games is huge.
Yeah,
like people with a Vita buy a lot of games.
They're
and that's what's
dedicated.
weird.
They're
I mean,
passionate.
for I Am Setsuna, I feel like Square could literally just be like, "Hey, here's the Japanese version, and you can download a dump of the English subtitles from the PS4 version that we already localized anyway. That'll just exist."
Yeah.
And I feel like that would kind of be enough. Like they don't.
nice.
It's not like it needs touchscreen features. It's not like
Joker's
it needs
Henchman
anything.
downloaded.
I really,
Yeah, exactly.
like I kind of hate where the Vita is right now in that they won't acknowledge its existence, that it's either living nor dead. I mean, a really good thing that I like to see at the end of a life cycle or of a console or a handheld is that there is a dedicated forward-facing advertising campaign around a price drop, and they go, "This is what this is now. It's $79.99 or $99.99. It comes bundled with these 4 digital games and a month of PlayStation Plus and a memory card, a memory card that doesn't cost more than the PSP or Vita itself." And all of a sudden, you get it into the hands with a whole bunch of people, and people are playing it for the very first time.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. I feel like the same thing happened with the PSP and the PSP Go, where it's like Sony just kind of like pumped the brakes, or just they kind of abandoned it, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's because of
Whereas-
VR.
Yeah.
I mean, I think honestly they're so focused on.
They don't want to flood the market, but like, it's just also. I mean, even if it's just like, hey, back page. Oh, by the way, here's the standard price point now.
Yeah.
But they don't even want to say it's a thing. And like,
do an official price drop to $89.99 or something.
But I guess that's what I'm
Bundle in
saying,
a bunch
like-
of games. Put a big ad in GameStop.
I think you get that in Q1 if they're going to do that, because I think right now, like to be totally honest, no one in the hardware team at Sony should give a shit about the Vita right now. Like I love the Vita, I hate to say it, but it's like they're launching experimental hardware. They're the weakest in the market. Like now is the time to let that entire team focus on the launch of that hardware, the manufacture process of that hardware, make sure there are no delays, all of that. And then next year you're like, oh, we have this other thing, it's failing. How do we save it?
I just feel like it's the perfect summertime thing. Like it's a summer gift. Like you just graduated school. Your grandmother gave you $100. Like go buy.
Trust me, I agree. It's just that weird thing where like I can see why Sony doesn't.
Also,
Yeah, I get that.
yeah.
I'd love to
There's,
revisit this in Q1 and see if they do anything with this.
There's one game that's very noticeably absent from this list, and I think it could save that system.
Yeah.
And it's called Galgun. Double Piece, and it's a game where you've been bitten by Cupid, and you've got the ladies coming after you. And you got to shoot them with your kisses.
Is that really what the game's about?
Yeah. Did you watch the trailer he put in the?
Oh, I call my kisses gal guns.
See, you laugh, but I mean, is there a better system than the Vita to play that?
It's a first-person kisser.
Yeah.
Is what it is. You're on rails, and you got to go around.
You know what?
The rare FPK genre. I mean,
You
play that on Vita, nobody can walk into the living room and say, "What are you doing there?"
Also, you can get right underneath those blankets and have all sorts of fun. Also, the Dead or Alive Paradise Island, or whatever the hell it's called, the new one. Extra realistic beach ball.
We should mention real quick that today, Zero Time Dilemma, which is the third in like the 999 Virtue's Last Reward, and then that came out, and then Grand Kingdom, which I think Vince is playing for us. Just looks really cool, like another stylized game. Kind of reminds me almost of some of the stuff Atlas is doing, and I put that in this list too. That like Axis and Atlas and NIS, all those smaller like anime titles are still coming to Vita. Like it's not like it's totally dead.
Yeah.
And then there are indies still coming.
Yeah,
Mighty Number
like-
9 is supposedly still coming.
Yeah,
Not that
I mean,
anyone
we got severed
Yeah.
from
How did you
Jink.
take
Drinkbox.
Calvin off this list but added Mighty Number 9? What's wrong with you? You can't kiss anything in that game.
because I technically bought it 3 years ago.
Game insulted you. Didn't even get your backer info right.
Yeah.
Can you talk about that real quick?
I'm just I did finally find my backer number.
Okay,
I
so
had to find
for context, you put how much money into Mighty Number 9 and how long ago?
it's like $100 in 2013.
Okay.
I think July of 2013.
You know games aren't that expensive, right?
Yeah. Well, at the time, I was super
grief.
excited. I think at the time, I did the tier where you got the physical NES box and cartridge and stuff, and I did it at the time because I was buying it for Colin, I think. And now 3 years later, he doesn't have a desk to put it on, I think. Yeah, it's that weird thing where I totally feel burned by it. The game isn't even good anyway. It doesn't get me excited to play it.
But
And then-
but that NES box is really cool, right?
I bet it's gonna be, but no, I don't have it. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Fan gamers making those, I'm sure they'll be great. But I mean,
This is another in the long series of Andrew Goldfarb 2016 Charlie Brown.
yeah, they.
One of these days, I'm gonna
Grief!
kick
I put
that football.
$100 into the Kickstarter, but when it came out, they didn't put my name in the credits.
So
and I
what Brian's
waited all
referring to
4
is
hours.
They have a 4-hour long credit sequence of every backer of the game.
But at least it's like alphabetically,
70,000.
so you know when to
Nope,
show up.
it's by backer number.
Oh.
and
At least
there's
all their
no-
names are in there.
Nope. Yeah, I'm in as a generous backer, despite like pretty vividly remembering filling out that
Okay,
form.
but at least to get that ending, you have to beat a really good video game.
5.6. I think we gave it 5.9. Mighty
I love
number
this
5.9.
God damn it!
This cascading trickle of disappointment.
Andrew, you're a blockhead.
It's really rough.
Let's talk about a thing we did like.
What?
The Legos. Star Wars.
No, real quick, I just wanted to plug Severed from Drinkbox, which
Oh,
we
yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
We never got to talk about it on the show because
Yeah.
of whatever reason. I did not love it anywhere near as much as Guacamelee.
That's a tough call
yeah,
because
it's-
Guacamelee
yeah.
is fantastic.
But it's got a lot of really good stuff going for it. It's gorgeous. The music is awesome.
Super charming, and I like respect the fact that it's like they could have easily made Guacamelee 2 or
Yeah.
anything that they're
They
like,
tried
hey, we're gonna try
something new.
something way different. We're gonna try something that is one of the few games that totally utilizes like the Vita's inherent
Guacamelee
abilities.
2, Ava Combat.
It's a
I love that name so much.
It's a touchscreen game that actually has fairly deep combat. I know you hear touchscreen and you're like, oh, it's like Fruit Ninja,
Yeah.
and it's like, no, it's got some stuff like that, but most things that you play on your phone are very thin and and stupid and hollow experiences.
Yeah.
But this is a very deep game. It'll take you a good 6 or 7 hours to get through it.
Yeah, and I think they're working on porting that to phones actually. where
it's
I think
coming,
Yeah, they
it's
announced
coming
a
to
bunch
pretty
of
much
other-
everything.
yeah,
anything with a touchscreen.
Anything with a touchscreen. So 3DS, Wii U, iPhone, everything.
It's also just pretty. Like, I mean, like the one thing it does share with Guacamelee is that art, which is just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And like on Vita screen, like
That kind of paper cutout style.
almost like
it's
Yeah,
that
the
really,
thing. Yeah.
it's that rare thing where like I really am happy
Rare?
with the slim Vita. Like I'm glad I got the plastic one. It's cheaper, it's easier to charge because you know the proprietary thing.
With that screen?
But yeah, that like Severed on the OLED screen looks so good. Like that's one of those rare games where it is worth having. A little
One last
better
really quick
picture.
Vita thing. I tweeted a picture the other day of the charging dock I have for my Vita. They're going for $5 now. They're official, and you basically just plant your Vita right into it, put the charging cable in the back of it. Your Vita will never die of battery.
Yeah, I have the
They're
little.
awesome.
I have the real small official Sony one. It's
Yep.
like it's literally like
It's a little metal stand.
yeah, and you put
that's
it on. It just has the charging dock.
Yeah, do that one again. You
I have-
held the circle in your hand and then you went on top.
We're going to talk about the Vita. We're doing it. I'm just going to say we're going to do that. We're renegades. We're on the loose.
Wait, we're gonna talk about the Vita. We did. We just
No, we are. I mean, we're just
Yeah,
going to
it was
keep
good.
talking about it. I was hanging out with Nina Freeman, who made Sybil and
She's working on Tacoma now.
Yep. And she's telling me like her latest, the thing she's into is like dating sims, like Japanese, like what are they called? Like they're called like
Oh, the Otome.
Otome, yeah. But she's telling me there's one where it's like feudal Japanese like samurai, but there's also like vampires, but it's also historically accurate. But you're like dating these vampire samurai.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, look up what NIS and Axis,
yeah.
aka SYS, are publishing on Vita. Like, there's a lot of weird but awesome.
I was like,
smaller
how do you
games.
play those on PC or whatever? And she's like, no, they're on Vita. And I'm like, what? Really?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess I better go poke around and find out what I can date besides those birds.
Yeah,
and
there's
how
one
it
where you
works.
try to like pinch the pigeons, where like you
Oh,
date
How to
pigeon
Fool a
boy and try
Boyfriend?
to you get them in the
Also,
you get them in the top.
and a sequel to it.
dig down into the PSN flash sales they do all the time.
Oh my God,
They
yes.
just did one this week
With
that had a
a
bunch,
bunch of Square games,
Yep.
where they had a
Tons of
bunch of
Square games.
PS1 RPGs, where like the Final Fantasy games were like $5,
Yep.
and
Yep.
same
Yep.
with Chrono Cross.
And that's even aside from like, if you don't own a Vita, like if you listen to the show, if you have a PS4 and you don't own a Vita, like they are cheap enough to get now that it's worth it. Like there are enough good games.
It's honestly less about what's coming forward and more about what's already there. From PS1 classics to a bunch of indie games that have come out to everything. A bunch of indie games that you might already own cross-buy that you don't even realize.
Yeah, exactly. That's I mean, like even freaking Mighty Number 9, like that is gonna be free if you bought the PS4 version.
Did you say freaking?
Yeah, I was gonna swear, but I'm trying to make your life easier.
It's writing something down. It's like
freaking Mighty Number 9. Come on, man. Jeez.
Freaking freaks. God.
So yeah, the Vita's alive. Stop saying it's
alive.
dead.
I think Atlas and NIS and Axis are keeping it alive, but also it's cool seeing big publishers publish stuff.
Do you like legit like? Just a question: like, are we ever going to see another Sony handheld ever, or is Sony just going to?
No.
Is Sony going to do what? 'Cause I don't think Sony's going to stop making mobile games, but I think depending on the success of Nintendo in the actual like mobile market in terms of like Apple products and stuff, I can see them certain studios making games that come to iOS. And come to Android.
I mean, I mean, Miitomo was a hit. People dropped off of it like crazy, but it made them a good amount of money for a while.
I mean, even Pokemon Go that's coming, which is separate from Nintendo. Like we haven't seen the Fire Emblem and the Animal Crossing.
Those are going to be like the litmus test.
And I mean, if you look at the stuff that
Mario
Sony's,
eventually, I assume.
if you look at the stuff Sony's tried already, I mean, like there's just like that Uncharted gem collecting game. Uncharted.
I mean, like
it's like again very hollow experiences.
But I would totally. There's a bunch of PS1 games I think that would work on my phone. Yeah, I feel like the first Crash Bandicoot could sort of work on the phone because its platforming wasn't precise enough to like require.
And the thing is,
run in reverse.
The way they could be successful is by doing what Nintendo's doing is sort of taking known franchises. Like I would be very surprised if the Animal Crossing and Fire Emblem games are actually full games. I think they'll be full games, but I mean they won't be like the full games on 3DS. Because I think they are smarter to. They don't want you to buy that instead. They want you to buy it in addition. And I think Sony could just be like, well, buy it instead. Like if they're not leaning into the Vita, they could do stuff like that.
I mean, you could put a Parappa game on iOS.
And have you guys played the Rayman games on iOS?
Oh yeah, like Jungle Run and
those are so good.
So they're like they're not necessarily endless runners, although they are.
But you are constantly moving. You are not moving to the right.
You're constantly moving,
background, foreground
but you can still do
switching.
platforming. You can jump and stuff like that. Like I would totally see one of their games like Ratchet and Clank working like that. Something like Knack even working like that. Lumines would be awesome iPhone game.
There is a Luminous on iOS, but it's from way early on and it sucks. Like, I think you could do a better. I mean, first party games would be different than because I think Ubisoft published the last Luminous game. If I remember it, the Vita one.
Yeah,
really?
I could be wrong. I'm probably wrong.
No, I didn't know.
But yeah, I think there are a lot of games that would work from like little. Like rhythm games, all that stuff. I do wonder how a full put a PS1 classic on just straight up.
Yeah, or just like smaller mini game experiences. Like take Norman Reedus, you can maybe wash his ass in Death Stranding.
just make his baby.
I mean, there was a Metal Gear Solid 4 on iOS,
and it was like surprisingly competent. Like it wasn't. It was no MGS game, but it was a cover based shooter.
God, I would love to have the first Metal Gear Solid on my phone.
Yep.
I mean, people are jailbreaking their phones and putting emulators on anyway. It's like, why wouldn't Sony make $4.99 a pop
jar
and just
barking?
make that a real thing? The jar barking.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess it's for them. It's about deciding. Can they make a couple bucks off that on PS4 by remastering it? But the reality is, people are playing games on their phone, and Sony should be there. And they're not going to make another dedicated handheld. And people want portable Sony experiences. So put the worlds together and fix it.
I wonder if we'll ever see like another Xperia Play type thing where they're like, oh, here's a phone that's a gaming phone. It's
I think times have changed.
Time has to have moved past.
And also, I mean, honestly, the big thing when they lean into mobile will be when there's a proper remote play app for iOS and Android. I think that's when I can see it really kind of being this is part of the ecosystem fully. And they have PlayStation Mobile, and they've always been. I mean, I guess they kind of don't have PlayStation Mobile, but they've been kind of knocking at that door for a while. It'll be interesting seeing which of Nintendo or Sony really just says screw it and makes it a full part of their ecosystem. Yeah. And I mean, it would make sense for Sony to be first, but we'll see.
All right.
Interesting times ahead.
Legos are here again. Here they are. The Force Awakens. The Lego experience. Mark,
you cannot escape them.
Stop
it's
that.
amazing.
Wow.
No, we spent a long time today trying to think of a strap for the review.
Yeah.
I don't know what we settled on.
I like
you were Wookieing around.
I like that Wookiee. Yeah. No, it's really good. Yeah, I reviewed
9
it.
9 out of Ren.
I give it a 9 out of Ren.
That should have been.
It should have been 9 out of Ren.
Yeah.
That would have been okay.
Yeah. I don't think anyone would have understood that.
But yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10. I play.
That's when you look at something for so long, it stops making sense.
Brian and I have pretty much played all the Lego games. I think we've talked about Lego games a ton.
One of my favorite franchises.
Yeah, same. And this
down.
is my favorite Lego game since the second Harry Potter game, which was a long time ago. That was like 4 or 5 years ago. I think this is way better than Marvel Avengers, than Jurassic Park. I like this better than Lego Dimensions. And I think the thing Traveler's Tales handled best is since... What was it? The first Lord of the Rings game was the one that introduced like ripping actual lines from the movie.
Was it Hobbit or it was? Yeah, it was some Lord of the Rings.
It was
thing.
one of them.
Yeah.
Like I was actually like. Up until now, I was sort of against the voice acting in the Lego games.
Yeah,
I missed like the days where it was pantomime. I feel like it was like a different beast as opposed to like when we played Lego Marvel Avengers and like Andrew, Alana, and I played through the whole thing together, and it was so jarring when it would pull a line from the movie. Like the audio mixing would be weird, and then a character would just repeat a line over and over and over again.
And it was also that
it felt like a weird fan dub or something like
but
that.
it also like so when they pantomimes, if you played like Lego Pirates or something way back in the day, the pantomiming, you had to do funny stuff like rubber chickens and pigs and like stuff to like make sense of what was happening or whatever. But when you have like Jeremy Renner saying an actual line from the movie while like a pig runs by,
take the shot.
Yeah, it's like so weird, and it just it mixed it in a weird way.
It doesn't work because you'll have a scene in like I believe it was like Lego Indiana Jones or whatever, where he goes to pull out the gun, and instead he pulls. It's like this Gallagher prop bag.
Yeah,
of nonsense. He pulls out it's like a drumstick and a whole bunch of other things.
Instead you get like Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
I didn't put any of this stuff in here. Show me what you do with my gun.
It just doesn't work. But I'm with you in that this one it does.
Yeah.
And I don't know how. I think it's because they did a good job of pushing and pulling when they use those and when they use new sound recordings.
Yes,
which melt together very well.
They melt together very well. A lot of so they will pull actual lines from episode 7, but they also got voice actors to voice other lines of dialogue for Rey and Finn and Leia.
Got Max von Sydow and they got Harrison Ford. I was talking to him about that. It's like that's got to be super awesome because those guys get to geek out as it is already. But I feel like they're at a point where there's such a legacy. A legacy to this series of games, and at this point they're getting approached by people who are holding the rights to a franchise.
Right.
Like Lego Dimensions, they were telling me like they have people reaching out to them being like, hey, can we put our stuff in your game, or can you put our stuff in your game?
Yeah.
As opposed to like there was some point where they were like, oh, it's this weird like double licensed property.
Yeah,
it's like,
whereas like Lego Dimensions is now cool. It's like,
and that's
we
the thing,
want to be
right?
in the thing with Batman and Lord of the Rings and Adventure Time and Ghostbusters.
They mix it so well. And if you've ever heard Arthur Parsons talk, like he gets it, he believes in it. Like it is totally like that feels like it's not just like a job to him. It's like he really cares about making it good.
Right. Totally. Yeah, and this game, aside from the fact that it tells a great story, it tells episode 7, but also tells a bunch of other funny side stories and weird like fills in gaps like how Poe rescues Admiral Akbar from a First Order Star Cruiser.
It opens with the Battle of Endor in Return of the Jedi, and you beat that, and it has the entire sequence where you escape the Death Star after blowing it up, which is just really fun. And then it goes 30 years later, and you're in the Resistance base, and then you're heading into the next thing. I think it's really smart how they did that and kind of bridged it. And I don't know if that was part of them being like, well, what's a way to weave a bunch of old school characters into this? Because otherwise you wouldn't get Ewoks and stuff like that.
Is that sequence not in the old Lego Star Wars games? Like,
no, it totally is.
It is. They just did it completely different.
I'm 99% sure the reason the campaign starts on Endor is because it teaches you all of the different mechanics. So you have the Force, you have a lightsaber, there's a flying segment, you have a grappling hook with Han, you have guns with Chewie, whereas
you have a boss fight with Palpatine.
Yeah, like in The Force Awakens, you don't get a lightsaber. A lightsaber isn't introduced in that story until halfway through. Yeah. And then the Force isn't introduced until the very end. Yeah.
I think aside from, and I'm obviously, a lot of us here are biased because we love Star Wars, and that's why I'm more connected to this game and this franchise than I was, say, and I love the Jurassic Park games. Yeah. But like once you hit 15 characters in those games, you're like, I can't name anybody else. It's InGen employee number 75 and like random soldier and like whatever the military guys that were hired in 3 you can't name, right?
William H. Macy.
Yeah, William H. Macy. Like they made his minifig and they put Jimmy Fallon in there because he was in the new movie, like stuff like that. And it's like it's fun, it's interesting, but a lot of those games are basically if you connect them to the movies, like there's no combat in Jurassic Park because like you don't shoot the dinosaurs. Like you don't punch them either, so it's mostly just avoiding them.
Yeah, even
but in
World,
Star
you're just
Wars,
rolling around in that crappy ball.
in Star Wars you have guys with magical powers, you have guys with guns,
you
have
have with
people
staves,
like small characters who can crawl into things. Yeah. You have flying, you have like ships, you have
robots,
ground vehicles,
that can do cool
robots.
Things. Yeah.
Like there's just so much that goes in there. And also if you're connected to Star Wars like we are, when you unlock a guy like PZ Forcio, who's like the blue droid in the new movie, you're like, cool.
Yeah.
like that means more to me. I have his toy on my desk. That's cooler to me than getting like, Vincent D'Onofrio.
My favorite thing was how excited Marty got for you guys. Like, Marty got so excited on your behalf when he unlocked Constable Zuvio.
So I'm like, finally, you can play through the entire
I'm
game.
stoked because they've got Captain Athano and Quiggold, who are those pirates that Finn almost goes off with, and they don't do anything.
Oh, there's an entire mission with those two.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. They got to go and steal a ship and play music out of it.
Yeah.
But
It's so cool.
I'm really excited to see that because like they did this thing. I grew up reading the Tales of Star Wars stories that were like, what was that one Jawa in the cantina doing for the 2 weeks prior to Luke and Obi-Wan going? And they're like, this is stupid, but I'm reading it.
Yeah.
They put out a kind of a handful of those for The Force Awakens, and it was like Constable Zuvio. There's that the ninja lady who whispers in that gross man's ear.
Oh, yeah, the
Snitch.
snitch.
Yeah. And then there's there's
that dude that looks like a minion.
the minion who was actually played by Warwick Davis's daughter.
Yep.
Which is really weird that they were like, hey, let's go to the family business of dressing up like a furry little weird thing and being in a space movie. But yeah, like I don't know, I'm just super excited that they're like these guys show up in the movie for like just for a second and they don't do anything.
Not even Constable Zuvio doesn't even show up for a second. But Marty found those werewolves that we love. And
The werewolves are there.
Ass
Yeah, they're
triplets.
definitely there. Yeah.
And they're just walking around.
Yeah,
so.
you can unlock you can unlock J.J. Abrams and Kathleen Kennedy.
I love that.
On top of that, like this, if you're
excited.
thinking like, oh, it's another Lego game, like yeah, it totally is. It falls into like a lot of the same ruts and a lot of the same systems. And if you like them, you're okay with it. Like at this point, I'm used to them. But they introduce a bunch of new stuff in this game.
Yeah.
Like there's a third-person cover system, which is
watching
like
you play that, and I was like, oh,
It's
so weird,
It
but it
feels
works.
like Gears of War for babies, like
Yeah.
not in a pejorative sense, but it's really weird because you'll hit these segments and
good
you're
one, dude. Gears of War is for babies.
yeah,
The
suck it
number one
podcast unlocked.
PlayStation
Bring it.
podcast.
Yeah. Just kidding. We love you guys. We're not starting a war.
Marty's in
Tune
the
into
room.
podcast. Unlock the world's number one Xbox.
It looks like Lego Gears of War. Like,
Yeah,
it really
because
does.
your character like Rhodey runs up the cover, slams against cover, and then it's about you're popping up, you're shooting, it's stop and pop, you're advancing cover, which is really strange. And then there's also like the flying sections in this game, the dogfighting. It has sort of on rail sections, and then it has open air dogfighting like Star Fox.
Yeah.
honestly, they're
that was
simple.
do you think that was the entire reason they thought up Star Fox? Is somebody said dogfighting, and they're like, but what if animals could fly?
It's not a single. Oh no, there's a dog. There's General Peppers. Is your
General Peppers and it's Wolf.
Peppers.
I mean, all Peppers.
but yeah, those flying segments are super fun.
Fox is a kind of dog, you weird dudes.
That's not true at all.
That's absolutely not true.
A
Yes,
fox
it is.
No, a fox is a cat with a very weird tail.
No, that foxes are not cat
yeah.
family.
Why is it
I
called Nine
cannot believe
Tails?
we're doing this.
No, foxes are dog friends. What are you talking about, cat?
It's not. It's called Ninetales because it's an ancient Japanese
Anyway,
deity.
the dogfighting in this game.
It's actually
Like
fun.
a comedy
It's a lot of
piece.
fun, and I liked it. I liked it better than Star Fox
I did
Zero.
too. It works.
because you don't need to use motion. You just use a couple
there's
sticks.
also like there's no second screen to deal with. There's
Yeah.
no like that weird like
you're right.
in cockpit mode. What?
You're right.
Yeah,
They're
do you
from-
want to look that up?
I knew it was a dog. I'm being contrarian just to make a hot goof. Did
I
you
didn't know that. I had no idea.
Oh yikes!
You didn't know that foxes were part dog?
Why does Peppers?
serious?
Why does
What?
Peppers look like a fox?
How did you not know that?
How did you really?
Oh yikes, dude!
Oh my god!
Wow, is this cyberbullying? Did we just cyberbully?
No, that was when I poured that cup of
we just got
coffee.
fox doxed.
Did you really not know that?
No.
We didn't have an intervention.
there was separate species.
It's really embarrassing.
Did you actually learn an animal fact from me?
I love how red you are right now over animal facts.
But the game also it does a really great job
Fox
of when
News.
you play it. It's super fun single player, but it's also that was good. It's super fun single player, but it's also fun multiplayer. And unlike Lego Marvel Avengers, where there would be full levels where someone gets to play as Iron Man and the other player is Pepper Potts, and she's just in the middle of a fire room. Oh, Pepper Potts. Whereas this, like every level, it's like you're Finn and Rey, and you both have separate powers that are disparate but also awesome, and or
Also,
BB-8 and
this,
Chewie.
this is the first video game you can control BB-8, and he feels like driving that Sphero
Yeah.
toy around your
It's
apartment.
BB-8's a girl.
It's
She feels like that.
It's awesome.
She actually
it's really cool.
played
And yeah, this is like the first great Star Wars game in what 7 years, 8? Like what was the last
Battlefront?
Battlefront.
Yeah,
Battlefront,
I mean,
Disney Infinity was awesome.
yeah, I don't really count Disney Infinity.
Okay.
It's just like kind of like I don't know.
It's like half a game.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
like toy box
I don't
stuff.
know. The indoor stuff in that was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you had to kind of trug through some sort of dumb Sith stuff.
Yeah, I guess I should say like story based because Battlefront's awesome, but it's
story-based.
multiplayer.
Yeah, sure.
This is so cool. I mean, as we're watching you play it because it's gorgeous. But it also like they did that thing where they're like, oh, let's make hyper realistic ferns on Endor, and you're like, there's Lego bricks for that, man, but I guess you wanted to show off a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, like that's the weird thing. It's like this entire game could look like Lego, but it doesn't. It looks like kids playing with Lego in a real forest or a real backyard.
Totally. Yeah, which that's a really interesting way to put it.
Like when you see Jakku, it's like sand, and it's not like Lego sand with like the studs all over it. You know?
Yeah, I used to have a problem with that, but then I remember like the old Lego like box photos. They'd be like, yeah, I mean now it's all like kind of they put them in like a CG cartoon environment. But the old stuff like the Wolf Pack or whatever, they'd be like, yeah, here they put them on some real sand.
Yeah, there'd be real stuff in the background.
Tron dudes rolling around with big rocks and stuff.
I hope you guys do a bunch of Let's Plays of these.
Oh, we will.
I think part of the fun will be pointing out all that stuff and reacting to that stuff.
Yeah, at the very least, we'll be playing 15 minutes leading up at noon on Thursday. So tune into IGN 11:45 Pacific time, and then just stay for the whole hour because we have a good show. Marty's going to come on and talk about some stuff. But yeah, we'll do a bunch of those. I do want to rant real quick about something I do not like about this game.
Go for it.
And that is what has now become a very common affair, an offense when it comes to selling video games, where it is just impossible to buy them to get the things that they have inside them without having to go to 7 different stores or play on 6 different consoles.
WB is especially bad about this.
100%. The PS4 version of this game has, and that's great because that's where I am, that's where we are, beyond, has a droid exclusive mission that comes with the C-3PO story of how he got his red arm.
It was Acid Rain.
Was it?
Yeah. Spoilers. Sorry.
I thought it was one of those deep catfishing shows where you put your arm in
got caught cranking it by EV99. It's, oh, you're a feisty little one.
Oh, heavens. Busted again.
Caught cranking it?
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Some binary load lifting going on.
I really thought it was just like one of those things like when a cheap dude gets in a car accident and he gets a different door on his car. So anyway, if you want that mission, you got to play it on PS4. I don't know if they'll sell it piecemeal down the line. There's also a season pass. Don't know what's in that yet. We'll get into that later on. It's $10, so it's not $50 like Battlefront, but hey, whatever. So that's $69.99 for the special deluxe edition,
Cranking
which
it.
also comes with an actual Finn minifig that you can only get in that box. But if you want Jabba's Palace stuff, which I love because that's my favorite segment in all of Star Wars. If you want Jabba the Hutt, if you want Bib Fortuna, the Gamorrean guards.
Wait, do you want to play as Bib Fortuna?
Yeah, of course I do. Like all that stuff, like here's the thing. These games used to just have those characters in them. If you bought the original Lego Star Wars, you could unlock every character who was in the franchise up until that point, and no one ever sold you anything else. This, you have to go to GameStop to get that exclusive DLC code. There's also an Empire Strikes Back exclusive character pack that gives you stuff like Bosk and IG-88 and Prototype Boba Fett. It's just like, why is this happening? Like, why? Like, for anybody who wants all this stuff, it's a pain in the ass to have to go to 6 different stores. If you're a kid, like you don't have to deal with this.
Like, especially egregious about this. Like, I think that with something like Arkham Knight, there is kind of a collector mentality with obviously older superhero stuff. Yeah. But this is like Lego. It's bad enough if you collect Star Wars minifigs and you're trying to like run a collection of those because those get stupid expensive. But for the sake of it being like a game about collecting virtual kind of avatars of toys, it sucks that it's like you can't just have a thing and you get your kid this and you're like, here you go. You know,
instead you're right in that it's very true to actual Lego. I was going to buy you a Boba Fett minifig, and I found out that like there's been like 5 or 6 different ones, and one of them is the white prototype one.
Yeah,
and
which only comes with a book.
It only comes with a book. Like what?
So why do I know that?
Isn't that weird? It's like it's glued inside of a book. But it's like I guess if that's the realism they're going for here with the Lego universe, then yeah, you guys nailed it. But
yeah.
I mean, I'm gushing about this game. It's awesome. I'm going to 100% it. I'll probably 100% it again on Vita or 3DS just to have a portable version as well because those games are different enough. But I didn't want to walk out of this without being like, hey, stop it.
No, it sucks. And like DLC is fine. If they need to make more money, that's fine. And obviously you're gonna have like, you know, some. I mean, if there was one thing that you get if you pre-order it from wherever, that's fine. Yeah, it's cool. I mean, having that first version of the game that comes with a code for some free thing you type in, okay, but don't make it so you can't have like. There's always going to be some buyer's remorse there. You know?
Yeah.
Like I was really I wanted to play Arkham Knight with the Adam West skin.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that could have totally like made me enjoy that game more. And then I was like,
it made me enjoy the hell out of that game, by the way.
Yeah. And I couldn't do it because I couldn't find it. You can you buy it online, or is that was some exclusive?
Well, it was
thing?
certain things, if they're store exclusive pre-order bonuses, it's a digital code that you get issued the day you get it based on if your pre-order was up until midnight leading up to that day. And after that, like, sometimes you can A, never get them again, or B, they give you the option of buying them piecemeal down the line.
Sucks.
But you have to buy them in these packs with like 8 other skins that you don't care about. So like I just don't.
Also, why is that stuff not included with the season pass? Just
That's the other thing.
like, it's like if you're gonna have the thing that like you get this and it covers your ass and it's $15, whatever. Who cares? Like, at least just make it all inclusive, you know?
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, I mean, you and I were very vocal about how we bought Battlefront and the $50 season pass. I'd be taking them to task right now if they started releasing stuff that wasn't included with that and they were selling it extra. And it's like, dude, no, I gave you like $110 for that game plus tax. Like, just let me have it. Like, this version that I have is deluxe version. It's a $70 SKU basically, and it doesn't come with Bib Fortuna. Like, what?
What a ripoff. That sucks.
Anyway,
2 out of 10.
Awesome game, really cool. We're gonna be playing a lot of it. We'll be doing lots of Let's Plays. We're actually gonna start doing more Let's Plays for the Podcast Beyond channel.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, we want to do
YouTube.
one of Adventures of Mana.
Yeah. I actually would love to do one with you, Goldfarb, about Persona, and you could just like gush and I could ask you stupid questions.
It's funny
about
you say that. We imported. Well, I mean, I imported multiple editions of the Japanese one to get all the toys it comes with, like you were just talking about. But we're that game. There's a 5-month gap. We're gonna do Let's Plays like Marty and I did for Final Fantasy 13-3.
Yep.
Probably with each of you and Alana. I'm going to do certain segments of Persona 5. It's all in Japanese. We won't really know what's happening, but we can just ramble about it.
Can you crank anything?
We can just crank it. Yeah. We can just,
No, in the game.
We're gonna hop into
yeah.
rapid fire now.
Yeah.
Before we do that, one real quick plug. There's a game on PS4 right now. It's $5. It's called Pac-Man 256.
Yeah.
Pac-Man 256. It's not being advertised anywhere. You got to go actually search for it, which is fun using their weird like abacus search tool, like where you would slide the bar around.
Yeah.
It's called Pac-Man 256.
It's by the developers of Crossy Roads. It's out on mobile. This is $5 and you get everything.
Yeah,
It's
it
not
was a
free to play.
mobile game, but it doesn't have any microtransaction nonsense. It's everything's completely
Game's
unlocked.
super fun.
Really score based.
It's awesome.
Add me on PSN, and you can try and beat my score. I see myself getting topped, and me beating other people's scores on the leaderboard. So it's just really fun.
I mean,
really
it's
cool.
funny you mentioned that because Pac-Man Championship Edition DX was the last time I really fully got like obsessed with a mobile game. And just one quick thing to mention, we didn't mention on news. A trademark came out this week for Pac-Man Championship Edition 2, and if it's anything like that, it sounds amazing.
I'm totally into it.
It's perfect.
Anyway, we here at Podcast Beyond have a Facebook group called Podcast Beyond.
The Facebook group?
Facebook.com/groups/Podcast Beyond. Yeah, every week we go on
Beyond.
there, we ask you for your questions in a little segment called Rapid Fire. We'll go through them real quick. This week, Gabriel Almeida asks, is Mankind ready for Knack 2?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Wrong.
I think you can
Mankind is divided on Knack 2 right now.
I think you can
Knack
take.
2 Mankind Divided.
I think a Knack sequel could be nice.
I think that video game sequels are frequently better than their predecessors. I mean, Assassin's Creed 2, Uncharted 2, hopefully Watch Dogs 2. It's just the fact that how games are made, you kind of have to make some mistakes and
Also,
build a foundation.
Knack gets made fun of a lot, but like technically it's really cool actually.
is.
Like as a launch title, as like a tech demo, it made sense. It just like story wasn't great and it was kind of went on for too long. Like I don't think Knack is a bad game, and I'm sure you could do something with it. I would just rather see them do something new.
I don't know if he'll ever achieve the same amount of success he had being a launch title. That's the other thing. Like, you'll never eclipse the sales of the first one, even with a bigger install base. I mean, that game sold, I've said this before, but it sold better than Super Mario 3D World. Like it or not. Stephen Lau says, are there any indie games you feel would have been better served as AAA games or vice versa? I was a little confused by this question, so I thought I'd throw it to the room.
So I know one. My quick answer isn't a PS4 game. It's a Wii U game called Fast Racing Neo.
Yeah.
And I never understood why Nintendo didn't just buy it from them and throw the F-Zero name on it and charge 5 times more, because honestly, like, it is an F-Zero game for all intents and purposes.
Yeah, like I wonder, like, you look at a game like Gone Home, which is free on PlayStation Plus this month, and you should all play it because it takes 2 hours and it's great, and that's all I'll say. But I don't know if that game would have benefited from like having a house from Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
You know, like, would that really have changed anything?
No way. And I think ultimately, like, a lot of the reasons you get these games that go out on a limb from indie developers is because they don't have publishers kind of stepping in and micromanaging.
Yeah.
And, like, I'm sure there are 1,000 advantages that publishers offer as well, but, like, by keeping to milestones and by following the schedule of making a AAA game, I think you stifle creativity.
Yeah, and as far
degree.
as the vice versa of AAA games that would be better as indie, I don't there's no direct thing for me there, but I do think a lot of games that I like or love could have been even better if they were able to, if BioShock Infinite was a couple hours shorter and trimmed a lot of the second act. It didn't have to have BioShock Infinite just literally didn't have combat. I'd be stoked. Same thing, like we all love Uncharted, but I was like, man, a couple sections were a little long in the teeth. Like,
yeah, I was thinking more along the lines like, I mean, if you look at the way Yacht Club Games introduced Kratos into Shovel Knight, like as ostensibly a demake, like I would totally play like a 2D beat 'em up demade God of War game that's side scrolling, Contra style, Metal Slug style, violent as hell, blood gushing everywhere, all pixel art. Like that'd be an indie version of a AAA game that I'd be totally all into. Same with like Prince of Persia style Uncharted game that didn't control like a game from 70 years ago. David C. Funke says, lost games that you'd like to see made available again. I'd like to finally play Shining Force 3, and I'd love a Panzer Dragoon collection.
Yeah, Panzer Dragoon's a big one.
Yeah.
I mean, PT, it's a goddamn shame that people won't be able to play PT.
I'm really excited for Force Awakens, Lego Force Awakens, because it's impossible to play the original Lego Star Wars on a modern Sony console. Like, you just can't. It's not on PlayStation Now. They never remade an HD version of it or anything like that.
or anything.
Yeah, it's just gone. Yep. Any other ones for that?
Not off the top of my head.
Matthew Purdue says, any crazy video game console midnight release stories? Have you guys ever gone to midnight launches for consoles or games?
I got the 360 at midnight.
Yeah.
It was very cold.
Yeah, I camped out for Halo 3. I camped out for the original Wii. There have been a bunch.
Did you go to the Galaxy 2 one?
Yeah.
We realized there, right?
Yeah, we realized we were in the same place
in New York City. It was like 4 degrees.
Really?
Yeah. Yep.
I went to the PS4 midnight launch, and it was like they actually put a lot of like planning and stuff behind that, and it was like super lame.
Yeah.
It was at the GameStop on Market Street, and there was like like a handful of people there, and there was like a guy in a Crash Bandicoot costume, and I was like, all right. I guess I don't know. It's one of those things where I think with a console, it's first of all it can go badly so easily because you're like, hey, I'm gonna stand around in the night waiting for a $400 box.
Yeah.
Like what could go wrong? Well, someone might take it from you.
Yeah.
You know.
It's a weird thing where like they can only be as good as like the one on Market Street can only be as good as the one on Market Street. There are like however many hundreds of GameStop stores. When I was at Gearbox, we would go to the local ones in Dallas, and the devs would be there.
Yeah,
and
I've seen that.
stuff
Like,
away.
pitch for it to be there. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
And I think that stuff, like that's cool for the Dallas area stores, but it's not like anyone else gets that. You know. So
I always heard stories. This before I think any of us lived in the city. There was a Sony store at the Metreon, which is a small downtown San Francisco, that used to have. I think when Guns of the Patriots, Metal Gear Solid 4 came out, Kojima was there for the launch.
Wow.
Like stuff like that. Where like
so
I remember
cool.
like the One Up used to go there. Like for the launch of the Wii, like they were there. But
I mean, I think with
for the
digital
launch of the PS3, Sam Kennedy dressed up as a Wiimote.
Oh yeah, I love
and had
that.
a cigarette and was giving everyone the finger.
I mean, I think
There's a video of that.
Man, why did One Up go out of business?
there's that weird thing where like I wonder how long midnight launches are really around because
have I told you guys about my story about buying the Wii U day one in San Francisco on Market Street at that very same one you went to? I went to pick up my Wii U. Yeah, that morning they were in line, if you want to call it that. There were 3 people. And a dog who belonged to one of the people. He was just there to get a Wii U. And down the street, like half a block down the street from there, is a Starbucks. And my wife went to pick us up coffee because she was like, I was like, oh, we'll split off here. I got out of the train station. You go get coffee. I'm gonna go wait in line. I got my console in 30 seconds, and she had to wait in line for 15 minutes for coffee. And she came back and she was like, there are more people waiting for coffee than there are for the Wii U. And I was like, ooh, this is kind of telling, isn't it? And yeah, we were right. So that's it for Rapid Fire. We had some other ones. One that I want to sit on for next week. Mike Cheng asked, now that 2016 is halfway over, what's your pick of game of the year so far?
Do you want us to go around and do it?
I don't know if I have an answer.
He said he wanted to sit on for next week.
Yeah, but let's talk about this next week.
I have an answer.
Okay.
And I tweeted it earlier today.
Podcast be on next week. One last plug. I want to give a plug to my friend Thomas Rakowitz, who played guitar on my album Misanthrope, which you can download for free. He put out a video game cover album called Bits and Waves. It's on Bandcamp. So just search for Bandcape.
Like an
the
M&M.
mysterious caped group of band members. Who lurks in the night? Oh, it's the man with a tuba. Everyone totally knows you're right there, dude.
Sorry, I'm just picturing a marching band with capes, and it's the best metal.
I think a lot of them have capes. So anyway, Thomas Rakowitz did a video game cover album. It's totally free, and it kicks ass. Like it just rocks like in hell, and you can go listen to it.
Thomas
is awesome.
He will shred.
He did some covers off of Mega Man X3, Fallout, Shovel Knight. We'll play one of the songs probably for Shovel Knight at the end of this episode right here. Shout out to Ryan's Wrap Up, which we used to do. We'll call it Brian's Wrap Up this time around. Marty said he didn't want me having 2 segments in a row. So
well, in fact, he has 2 segments named after him.
I think all the segments should be named after Brian.
Yeah, that's right.
The Altano Report.
Yeah.
You don't know what a fox is.
A baker's Brian. So yeah, check that out and just go to Thomas Rakowitz's Bandcamp. Just search for Bits and Waves and you can find it.
Parts and Wars.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
that was it.
Take us out of here. You
this is
man.
449. Next week is going to be 450. And we have something special planned.
We have a myriad of. Never mind.
Shut up.
Yeah, we're going to be
448.5.
Do you say of after
you're not supposed to.
I know. You're not supposed to.
We'll ask our 2 guests next week.
Yeah, one of them says that word a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
The other one loves Oreos and chicken wings.
Yeah, guess who? Thank
Craig
you guys.
and Gollum.
Thank you guys so much for listening. As always, you can find us on Twitter. I'm Max Scoville. Andrew is Garfep. Brian is Totino's. No, Brian's Agent Bizzle. And Marty is McBiggity with 2 G's and 2 T's.
And once again,
did I tell you guys about the time that I was tweeting about pizza with somebody and Totino's was just like, anytime it's good for pizza, and I was like, not you.
This isn't about you.
And last week we told you to send dog pictures to Alana at Charlanazard, and she was very thankful for all of them.
Yeah.
Send what kind of pictures do you send this time?
Delicious hams.
Just
No, don't send me ham.
Send
Corn on the cob.
Send send marching band members wearing capes.
Yes, actually, Google marching band members who are wearing capes,
Or just
Find a
marching
member
band members.
and send
Alana?
those to Alana at Charlanazard.
Either that or Corn on the Cob because
Also-
she's missing 4th of July.
Also, do you know what's
these
insane?
things.
She has never listened to an episode of a podcast.
She's never listened
She
to
has
any.
never listened to an episode of a podcast.
Well, Marty, life's short. I don't know.
Not when you're 22.
Yeah.
Life is very long when you're young.
I'm invincible. I'm going to be late for work today. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Flowers in the sky. Whoa.
There's flowers in the sky?
I'm going to go see a
Oh,
dog.
flowers.
She's gonna see a dog on her Twitter.
Yeah.
Or
Also,
a
she
cob.
thanks, everybody.
Oh, corn on the cob.
Corn on the cob, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. I don't know why you do, but we have fun doing it.
Now she's gonna get some corn on the cob.
Some marching band members. Maybe a dog.
Maybe a dog. Anyone who listened to last week's episode is gonna send a dog. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
Corn on the cob, dogs, marching bands. You have your marching orders. See you next week. Goodbye. Beyond.
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 Beyond.